Welcome and hello to this teaching session, which is a session about yourself. Ultimately, it's a spiritual teaching session, and every spiritual teaching is ultimately always about you, about yourself. It's about the being that you are and the human that you are. But the spiritual teaching is especially about the being that you are. And of course, you're never only a human, and you're never only the being, you are a human being, which means you have two different components. And one of them is the level of depth, which is infinite, deep, and eternal. It cannot be touched by anything at all. It is beyond this dimension, and you can sense the transcendent dimension inside yourself when you drop the thought processes come to an end, the dysfunctional thought processes come to an end, and which is the ego, a part of the ego. The ego produces dysfunctional thinking and then dysfunctional action and dysfunctional words. And most humans are only aware of the dimension of the human, and the human will still exist even if you live in a so-called enlightened way, which just means that you are no longer trapped in the ego, but you are in a constant connection to the transcendent being within, and you live out from there. That is what would happen to the Buddha or to Jesus or any other person that ever had a connection to the realm of depth. There are many people in this world, and always have been. They have in certain areas of their life, they have a connection to the depth dimension, and can create out of there, and are in other areas of their life, they still have some ego, or even big egos or huge egos can happen. And the the goal in life is to not just have access to the depth dimension in certain areas, which is beautiful and wonderful and serves everybody, but you to have it throughout your life, to have this connection to the transcendent dimension. And one way of being more aware of it and becoming more aware of it is, for example, to put the attention in your breath, in your breathing, to breathe in and out. And you can do that being aware of your breathing almost everywhere. You can be aware even when you drive. You can have some attention on your breath. Hopefully not all of the attention because you need to drive, which is very important. Uh, but there can be some awareness inside your body. And it's much less likely that you will have an accident when you are still in touch with the transcendent dimension. This dimension is always there. It cannot be not there because everything, all forms in the world are connected to the, or exist within the consciousness, within the eternal consciousness. It is the source of everything. Without consciousness, there could not be a physical dimension. So our culture in the Western emphasizes almost only the physical realm, world, doing things, achieving things, having things, all that stuff, which is good, but it often is used in the ego searches through that to get a bigger identity, a bigger me, a better sense of self, which is more superior. And ultimately, even if you achieve great things in this world and then you have a huge ego, it's still a fiction. It's still a false sense of self. And the true feeling of self can only come through a connection to this transcendent dimension inside yourself. And it's not just inside yourself, it's also everywhere around you. When you have a connection, you can sense that and see that to some extent. Everything is alive. There is a life force in every structure in the universe, in stones, animals, minerals, the sun, planets, the human. And all these forms serve different purposes. So do also we human on the surface of life have different purposes and are different characters and bodies. But all of them are connected or exist within the one consciousness. Which includes everything and everyone. I naturally do these pauses where I just am and I don't think about what am I going to say next. I'm just still And that is a very important ability throughout your life to to become still in situations, and especially in very challenging situations of your life, to invite stillness and be and increase the awareness inside of you. And then often out of there, a creative solution arises for your problem. You can then creative thoughts may happen in your mind, and they are then not egoic, dysfunctional thoughts, but are thoughts that come from the universe itself, from life. So life starts acting through you, thinking through you. You merge again with the one life force, and then you continue this journey, not only as purely little fleeting, short-lived human, but as a human in a wonderful connection with the one being, the consciousness. Creative thoughts can come up every time, and then they use your mind, and your mind becomes infused, may become infused by creativity, and it can go quite a while. Could lead to a whole career or whatever, but it could still then the one consciousness acting through you. Still the one consciousness acting through you, and that's beautiful. But for that to happen, you need to get out of the egoic mind, and then you merge again with consciousness, and then out of there, creation can happen. Creative thoughts, words, and action, which will influence the world in a positive way. Everything that comes out of this dimension has a very positive influence on the world, and it influences the world in many different ways, which are not all visible, but it does happen, and is very, very important. The ability to be still, to live out of stillness. If you have that ability, which say you have to have a certain degree of consciousness and awareness, and then you can choose to be more still. Ultimately, the universe chooses through you to be still. But it's an interesting subject. You can look at it from different perspectives. You could say you choose consciousness, or we could say consciousness chooses you, which is ultimately that's the truth. And because you are consciousness, you just remember that you are consciousness. Consciousness regains its own connection with itself. Which was never lost, but obscured by a egoic mind, by a karmic conditioned mind, which can only act and react through memories and previous experiences, and through being connected to the transcendent dimension. You have the additional factor that you can respond in a conscious way, in a new way, which has not so much to do with your previous conditioning from the past, which come through upbringing, the family you grow up with, in the culture you live in, the people who were around you, things that happened to you, things you did. There are many different influences, and it probably goes back many, many lifetimes. And you can look at it how you want, but there's a certain conditioning, and to act not longer out of that conditioning, for that to happen, you need to have the ability to be still. And once that ability is back inside of you, you can start inviting. Then conscious thoughts will happen through you in a way that suits you, or you may learn something new and do something new, or you do something that you already have done, but now in a conscious way. That's ultimately it. All right. Thank you.